Have you ever wondered, what if aging isn't the beginning of the end, but the beginning of something we've been too busy to notice? You see, we spend most of our lives moving fast, working, proving, pushing through. And somewhere along, the way we mistake youth for strength and slowness for weakness. But what if that's not the truth at all? What if the tiredness you feel after 60 isn't your body giving out, but your soul finally calling you back? Because here's something no one really tells us. Aging isn't about fading away. It's about unfolding. It's a return, not a retreat. A soft but powerful shift into a deeper version of yourself. Not less alive, but more aware. That ache in your back, that slower pace. It might not be your body failing. It might be your body asking, begging you to finally listen. You've spent decades doing. Now, maybe it's time to be. In this video, I want to share 5 simple habits. They're not exercises. They're not medications. They're not about doing more. They're about doing differently. These are habits that draw from the quiet wisdom of Buddhist teachings, the insights of modern neuroscience, and the ancient intelligence living inside your own body. And what's beautiful is, they don't just support your health. They awaken something deeper, something you may have forgotten was always yours: peace, clarity, vitality that doesn't come from pills or pushing harder, but from presence. So, if you've ever felt like your body is asking for something medicine can't give, stay with me. This might be the conversation you didn't know you needed, because growing older doesn't mean you're breaking down. It means you're breaking open. Let's begin, not with effort, but with awareness. Let me ask you something simple, but maybe powerful. When was the last time you actually met your own breath? Not just the automatic breathing you do every second of every day, but a real breath. A conscious one. One that felt like you were there for it. Most of us have taken hundreds of millions of breaths in our lifetime. And yet, if we're honest, we've only truly noticed a handful. But here's what I've learned, especially from teachers in mindfulness and from sitting with people at both the beginning and end of life. The way we breathe is the way we live. UI. See, in Buddhist practice, there's a form of meditation called Anapana. It's incredibly simple. You don't have to do anything fancy. You just watch the breath. No need to control it. No need to deepen it. You simply notice it. Why? Because the moment we leave the present, the breath is the first thing we lose. And the moment we return, it's the breath that guides us back. Here's something science agrees with. When we breathe slowly, especially with longer exhales, we activate something called the vagus nerve. It's a powerful switch in the body, one that tells your nervous system, you are safe now. It lowers your heart rate, softens your blood pressure, improves digestion, and even balances your hormones. This is not just spiritual poetry, it's biology. Your body responds to how you breathe, every single time. Now think about this. How many days have you gone, maybe years, without ever truly breathing? Have you ever felt anxious for no clear reason? Like your chest is tight, your thoughts are racing, your patience is gone, and you don't even know why? And then later you realize you haven't taken a full breath all day. That's not failure. That's not weakness. That's disconnection. In today's world, we live in chronic stress. And that kind of stress trains the body to breathe shallowly, right up in the chest. Quick, short breaths, just enough to survive, not to thrive. What that does over time is create a silent feedback loop. Shallow breath, more stress, more tension, more aging, less clarity. But here's the miracle. One slow breath can interrupt the entire loop. Fear breathes fast. Peace breathes slow. And your rhythm, the way you breathe moment to moment, becomes the life you live. I want to share a story with you. A woman in her 60s came to me once during a retreat. She told me, "Every morning, I wake up with a racing heart. I feel like something is wrong with me. My doctor says my heart's okay, but I still feel off. I asked her gently. Before your morning coffee, would you be willing to sit for just 10 minutes and breathe? Not meditate, not chant, just breathe. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. She looked skeptical, but agreed. After 30 days, her blood pressure had dropped by 15 points. But what moved me most was what she told me after. I'm not afraid of the morning anymore. I feel like my body is finally listening. And maybe for the first time, I'm listening back. That's not magic. That's presence. You know, people say youth is wasted on the young, and maybe in some ways breath is too. When we were younger, we had energy, but no awareness. Now in this chapter of life, we've gained the awareness. We just need to reclaim the energy, and breath is the door. I've sat with monks who spent decades in silence. I've sat with patients in ICU beds, breathing their final breaths. Both moments were filled with the same truth. Everything begins and ends with the breath. Every birth begins with an inhale. Every death ends with an exhale. And in between, we have a chance to truly live by honoring the breath in the middle. So, what can you do today? You don't need to change your life. Just pause for 2 minutes. Before your phone, before your coffee, before the world grabs your attention, just sit. Breathe in for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 6. Do that for 10 rounds. Let your breath become a quiet signal to your body. We are safe now. We are here. You don't need a perfect life to feel peace. You just need a peaceful breath to begin again. And something beautiful happens when your breath slows down. You start to hear things again, not just the birds or the wind or your heartbeat, but your life. You hear what your body's been trying to tell you. You feel emotions soften. You return to something ancient inside you, something sacred. This is why we begin with breath. Because before we can change our habits, we must return to our center, and the breath is home. Call to action, calm and simple. If this message speaks to you, I invite you, just for today, to breathe like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Leave a comment below if you tried this practice and let me know how it made you feel. And if you'd like to continue exploring simple, soul-nourishing habits for a stronger body and softer mind, subscribe and join this journey with me. Your breath is not broken. Your life is not behind. You are right where healing begins. Habit 2. Walk like you're praying. Soft ambient nature sounds begin. Birdsong, light breeze, a calm, soothing voice speaks. Let me ask you something you might not have thought about in years. When was the last time you went for a walk? Not to burn calories, not to reach a destination, not to check off steps on a fitness app, but just to be with yourself? Not to go anywhere, but to come back to something. You see, walking is one of the first things we learn as children. But somewhere along the way, we forget the sacredness of that movement. It becomes mechanical, rushed, filled with distraction. Head down, phone out, mind racing. But there's another way to walk. A way that's not just physical, it's spiritual. It's called walking meditation, or kinhin, in the Zen tradition. One breath, one step. That's it. Heel touches the earth. Then toes. Mind fully here, no hurry, no goal. Just presence unfolding with each step. I remember years ago, during a silent retreat in northern Thailand, a monk watched me walking between sessions. He smiled and said, "You sit very still, but you walk like you're chasing something." And I knew exactly what he meant. Even in stillness, my body carried urgency, a subtle tension, as if I was trying to arrive somewhere, even when I had nowhere to be. That day, he taught me to slow down. Not just physically, but spiritually. He said, "When you walk, just walk. Let your body be a prayer. Since then, I've never walked the same way again, but don't just take it from ancient wisdom. Modern science is now confirming what monks have known for centuries. When you walk slowly and mindfully, something amazing happens in your brain. Your neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to adapt and grow, begins to increase. Your blood pressure stabilizes. The vagus nerve is stimulated, calming your heart and emotions. Memory and coordination improve, and your emotional body, grief, stress, worry, starts to release without you needing to fix or force anything. Because here's the thing. Fast movement often buries emotion, but slow walking gives emotion space to breathe. When you walk without rushing, sadness might rise, so might peace, or even joy out of nowhere. Not because anything's wrong, or even because anything's changed, but because you're finally letting your feelings catch up with your footsteps. You're finally here. One morning not long ago, I stepped barefoot onto the dewy grass in my backyard. The sun had just risen and everything felt quiet. I began to walk, not with effort, but with attention. And in that stillness, something shifted. I realized I wasn't just walking on the earth. The earth was walking with me. Every step felt held, as if the ground itself was lifting to meet my foot. And in that moment, I thought, if the earth can carry my weight without complaint, why can't I carry my own life with the same grace? You don't have to go to a forest or mountaintop to feel this. You can walk around your kitchen, down your hallway, to the mailbox. It's not where you walk, it's how. Walk like the ground matters, like your breath matters, like you matter. Some people have joked with me, you walk so slowly, you look lost. I usually smile and say, no, I'm not lost. I'm just finally not rushing to places I never wanted to be. Because once you taste the kind of peace that comes with every mindful step, you don't want to walk the old way anymore. And here's what's truly beautiful. The way you walk affects more than your body. It affects your energy field. When you walk with gentleness, you generate a field of gentleness. When you walk with gratitude, your entire presence becomes more magnetic, more open. That's not just spiritual talk, it's resonance. People feel the energy you carry. And walking, more than you realize, is one of your greatest transmitters. So if you've been asking, how do I raise my vibration? How do I feel more grounded? How do I connect with something deeper? You don't need to do more. Just walk like the earth is sacred, and soon your life will be too. Let's try this together. Just once today. Step outside. No phone, no music, no rush. Walk for 5 minutes with nothing to prove and nowhere to go. Let each step be like a soft drumbeat of presence. Let your breath follow your feet. Let your mind rest in the rhythm. Let the world come alive again, not through speed, but through slowness. You're not slowing down because you're broken. You're slowing down because your spirit is asking you to return to yourself. You've given so much energy to rushing, fixing, producing. Now, let walking become your gentle way home. Call to action, gentle and inviting. If this practice speaks to something in you, leave a comment below and tell me where your next mindful walk will be. Let's create a space where slowing down isn't shameful, it's sacred. And if you're ready to explore more habits that nourish your body, calm your heart, and awaken something deeper, subscribe and stay connected. The journey back to yourself doesn't begin with a sprint. It begins with one slow low. Habit 3, sit without trying to fix anything. Soft ambient music playing, wind chimes, distant bird song, voice calm and grounded. There's a kind of silence that's rare these days. It's not the absence of sound, it's the absence of pressure. The kind of silence that doesn't ask anything of you, doesn't demand improvement, doesn't expect a breakthrough. It just holds you, and we don't get enough of it. We've been taught to sit in classrooms, waiting rooms, buses, meetings, but no one really teaches us how to sit with ourselves. So when we finally do, no phone, no to-do list, it can feel uncomfortable. Why? Because silence holds everything we've spent years avoiding. But what if sitting still wasn't something to get through, but something to come home to? Today's habit is simple. It doesn't involve a technique or special cushion. Just this: sit and don't try to fix anything. Don't try to breathe better. Don't try to think positively. Don't try to heal. Just be here. I used to think sitting still was a waste of time. If I wasn't actively meditating, visualizing, or solving something, I felt guilty, like I was being lazy or unproductive. But the deeper I went into real presence, the more I saw the body doesn't always need more effort. It needs permission. Permission to exist, to rest, to stop being a project. There's a line my teacher once said that I didn't understand at first. He looked at me, smiled, and said, "Don't just do something, sit there." It felt backward. Don't do something? But now, it's one of the wisest things I've ever heard. Because sometimes, the most healing thing you can do is nothing. Not because you've given up, but because you're finally willing to let go. Here's what happens when you sit without trying to fix. At first, the mind will chatter. That's okay. You might notice tension in your chest or old emotions surfacing, sadness, regret, restlessness. That's also okay. These aren't signs that something's wrong. They're signs that something is finally being heard. Your body, your nervous system, your emotional self, they've been waiting for space, not to be judged or changed, just witnessed, like a muddy pond after a storm. When you stop stirring the water, it starts to clear. And when the water clears, what's at the bottom can finally be seen. Not to hold on to, not to fix, just to let it pass through. You don't need a plan for this. You don't need to know what to do with what you feel. You just need to be willing to feel it. I remember one morning, I sat in a chair by the window, with no goal, no timer, just a cup of tea and the early light. At first, I fidgeted. My mind bounced around, but eventually, something softened. My shoulders let go of something I didn't even know they were holding. My breath slowed on its own, and this quiet hum started building inside my chest, not from effort, but from stillness. That's when I realized, healing isn't always an achievement. Sometimes it's what happens when we finally stop trying so hard to be okay, from a physiological standpoint. Here's the beauty of stillness. Your nervous system resets. Your heart rate finds a new rhythm. Your energy, scattered from constant stimulation, begins to gather. And slowly, your body shifts from doing to being. No apps, no hacks, just space. And here's the paradox. Stillness isn't nothing. It's actually full of intelligence, but we're so used to thinking productivity is power that we forget. Nature does most of its growing in silence. Grass doesn't make noise when it grows. Mountains don't speak when they shift. And your healing doesn't need to shout to be real. What if you gave yourself 10 minutes today to simply be? No meditating, no trying to clear your mind. Just sit like a tree, grounded, alive, rooted, not waiting for anything to happen, but knowing that everything you need is already within you. You might be surprised by what you feel, or maybe by what you stop feeling. Guilt, tension, urgency, because there's nothing wrong with you. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're just tired of trying to be better every second of the day. Call to action. Gentle, encouraging. Here's your invitation today. Find a chair, or a patch of sun, or a quiet spot by a window. Turn everything off, sit for 10 minutes, and just exist. Let your body settle. Let your thoughts pass like clouds. Let your presence, not your productivity, be your worth. And if that feels hard, good. That means it's worth practicing. Leave me a comment if you try this. Tell me how it felt. And if you want more guidance like this, soft, science-backed, soul-centered, subscribe, and stay connected. Because you don't need another thing to do. You just need space to remember who you already are. And that starts with simply sitting. Habit 4. Eat with reverence, not rules. Gentle ambient music begins. Soft clinking of cutlery, nature sounds in the background. Calm, warm voice begins speaking. Let me ask you something quietly. When was the last time you sat down to eat, really eat, without checking your phone, turning on the news, or rushing to your next task? When was the last time your meal felt like a moment of peace, instead of just another thing to get through? Today, I want to invite you into something simple, and honestly, kind of sacred. Eat with reverence, not with rules. Sounds poetic, right? But I promise you, it's more than just pretty words. Because what if the healing your body's been waiting for isn't in a new supplement, or a stricter diet plan, but in the way you receive what you already eat? In many Zen monasteries, meals are taken in silence, not because they're being strict, not because it's a rule, but because silence allows for presence. Every bite is a kind of prayer, not the religious kind, the grateful kind. You sit, you chew, you feel, you thank, and something shifts. Now don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to give up pizza or weigh your lettuce. This isn't about guilt. It's about relationship, the relationship between your body and your attention. Let me share a quick story. A woman once told me, "I eat so clean, everything organic, low sugar, high fiber, but I still feel bloated and tired after meals." So, I asked her, "Do you ever eat while standing up?" She laughed and said, "Every day. I'm too busy to sit down. I usually eat while checking emails or making dinner for the kids." Here's the thing most of us don't realize. It's not always the food that's heavy. Sometimes it's the energy we carry while we eat it. When we eat in a rush, our nervous system stays activated. The body stays tense. Digestion slows down, and the body doesn't feel safe enough to receive. But when we slow down just a little, the entire experience of eating becomes something else. So let's turn this into something practical. Here's what I try to do before every meal. I pause. I breathe. Just once. I close my eyes for a few seconds, and quietly I say, "Thank you." That's it. Not because I'm being spiritual, but because gratitude changes the chemistry of your body. When you feel appreciation, even for a simple meal, your nervous system calms, your digestive enzymes increase, and your body opens. It's like the difference between stuffing food into a moving car versus placing a warm dish on a peaceful table. We're not just feeding the body. We're feeding the state we're in while eating. Food doesn't just pass through your mouth. It passes through your emotional field. So let me ask you, when you eat, do you feel anxious, distracted, rushed, or do you feel soft, safe, and grateful? Now, I'm not saying every meal needs to be a meditation, but what if one meal a day, just one, became your practice? No rules, no counting, just a quiet breath, a real pause, and full attention. You don't need to chant over your salad or bless your sandwich, unless you want to. But maybe, just maybe, put the fork down between bites. Taste the texture. Feel the warmth. Let your body know you're here. Here's something else I've learned. Many people obsess over what to eat, but far fewer ask, how am I eating? What energy am I bringing to this meal? We think healing is in the macros, but sometimes healing is in the moment before the first bite. That little moment, that's where the transformation begins. One of my mentors once said, "You can eat kale in a state of stress and your body will still suffer. But you can eat soup with deep presence and it will nourish every part of you." And I've found that to be true, because presence is the ingredient that turns a meal into medicine. So today, I want to offer you a new ritual. Nothing complicated. Just this. Before your next meal, sit down. Take one deep breath. Close your eyes, even for a second, and say quietly, "Thank you." Then eat. Slowly. No rush. No multitasking. That's it. Try it for one meal. See how your body responds, not just in digestion, but in mood, energy, clarity, because what you're really feeding is your nervous system, your soul, your pace, your peace. Call to action, calm and encouraging. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below. Tell me what meal you're going to try this with. And if you're enjoying this journey, these small shifts that bring your body and soul back into harmony, make sure you subscribe. There's more to come, more nourishment, more presence, more remembering. You don't need more rules. You need more reverence. And it starts with one quiet, grateful. Habit 5. Do nothing and let that be enough. Background music. Soft, ambient tones with nature sounds, wind through leaves, distant water. Let's begin with a question that might feel uncomfortable in today's world. When was the last time you did nothing and let that be enough? Not scrolling, not multitasking, not planning your next step while pretending to rest, but really, truly, nothing. We live in a culture that worships performance. Even rest has become another task to optimize. We schedule breaks. We track our sleep. We earn time off like it's a prize. And when we finally sit down, the guilt creeps in. The voice says, "You should be doing something, cleaning, replying, improving, hustling." But what if that voice isn't your truth, but just a leftover echo from a world that forgot how to be? I remember sitting in a quiet temple in Kyoto years ago. No phone, no books, no instructions. Just the silence of old wood, the wind sliding through bamboo, and my own breath. For an hour, I did nothing. And at first, it was agony. My mind raced. My body twitched. I wanted to get up, fix something, feel productive. But then, something inside me softened. There was a kind of stillness that didn't come from me. It was already there, waiting for me to stop moving long enough to feel it. In Zen, there's a beautiful word for this, Wu Wei. It translates loosely to non-doing, but not in the lazy sense. It means complete presence without effort, not apathy, not inaction, but the deep trust that being is sometimes more powerful than doing. Imagine your body like a garden. You don't dig it up every hour to make sure it's growing. You don't water it constantly or scream at the seeds to hurry. You plant, you tend, and then you step back. Because what truly allows a garden to bloom isn't more doing. It's the quiet hours underneath the surface, in stillness, in surrender. Here's the paradox. The more we allow ourselves to do nothing, the more energy, clarity, and creativity start to return, naturally, like how a muddy lake clears when the wind settles, or how a song becomes beautiful not just from the notes, but from the pauses in between. But it's hard, isn't it? Sometimes I sit down to do nothing, and 5 minutes later I'm reorganizing the sock drawer. Why? Because it's easier to be busy than to be with yourself. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that our worth lives in what we produce, not in who we are. But I want to challenge that belief today. Gently, lovingly, what if your most powerful moments weren't the ones where you pushed harder, but the ones where you stepped back and made space? What if stillness wasn't a void, but a vessel? Let me share something you can try. It's simple. No app, no timer, no special posture. Just this. Sit in a chair or find a quiet corner with sunlight. Turn off your phone. And for 15 minutes, don't try to meditate. Don't try to be spiritual. Don't try to feel anything at all. Just sit. Let your thoughts come and go. Let your breath be natural. Let the world continue without you needing to chase it. And tell yourself this: I don't need to earn this moment. I belong here, right now, without doing a thing. The first few minutes might feel pointless. You may even feel resistance, like you're wasting time. But wait, because just beneath that resistance is something deeper. Your nervous system, tired from constant stimulation, starts to reset. Your mind, overwhelmed by noise, begins to settle, and your energy, scattered in a million directions, and begins to gather like birds returning home. You don't need a vacation. You don't need to escape your life. Sometimes what you need is to pause long enough to let life catch up with you, because rest isn't laziness. Rest is remembering who you were before the world told you to become something else. You were not made to move endlessly. You were made to breathe, to feel, to savor, to sit beside the window while the sun touches your face, and let that be enough. Call to action, calm and reassuring. So if today feels heavy, if your body is tired, your mind is loud, your heart is distant, try this one small act of rebellion. Do nothing, sit still, breathe softly, and tell yourself, this is enough. Then let your body remember the rhythm it knew before the world got so loud. And if this message touched something in you, leave a comment below. Tell me what doing nothing feels like for you. And if you're ready to invite more of it into your life. And if you'd like more practices like this, where stillness meets wisdom, subscribe, and let's walk this path together. Because you're not behind. You're not broken. You're just being called to soften. And the next chapter of your life doesn't begin with more effort. It begins with one sacred pause. Habit 6. Speak as if you're planting seeds. Background: gentle ambient music, soft tones, subtle birdsong, calm, warm voice. Begins. Have you ever noticed how a single conversation, even just a few words, can stay with you all day? A kind remark, and suddenly your heart feels a little lighter. But one careless comment, and it's like carrying a stone around in your chest for hours. We don't often think of it this way, but every word we speak is like a seed, and whether we know it or not, those seeds are being planted in someone else's heart, and in our own. In our younger years, we often speak to get things done, to persuade, to prove, to win. But something shifts as we grow older. After 60, conversation begins to feel less like transaction and more like transmission. It's no longer just about information. It's about energy, tone, presence, intention. Because what we say carries a field with it. And that field either nurtures or drains the space we're in. There's a beautiful practice in Buddhist mindfulness called right speech, or Chan Ngu. It doesn't mean being polite all the time or filtering your truth. It means speaking in a way that is true, kind, timely, and useful, not to moralize language, but to use our voice as a form of healing. Because the body doesn't just digest food, it also digests tone, emotion, and intention. Science is catching up to this too. A recent study showed that older adults who engage in regular positive conversations experience significantly lower levels of depression, up to 30% less than those who are socially isolated. And it makes sense. When we're spoken to with warmth, or when we're truly listened to, our brains release oxytocin. That's the hormone of connection. It lowers stress, supports immunity, even helps improve sleep. In short, a good conversation literally heals you. I once met a 75-year-old man in a small monastery. Every morning he would find someone, anyone, and say one sincere, beautiful thing he noticed about them. Nothing dramatic, just quiet truths. You have a peaceful smile. Your hands look like they've built something meaningful. Thank you for walking gently. One day I asked him why he did it. He just smiled and said, I can't plant trees anymore, but I can still plant joy. That line has never left me. You see, healing doesn't always look like therapy or medication or grand acts of transformation. Sometimes it's a kind word, a thoughtful question, a text message that says, you came to mind today. How are you? You don't need a reason. You don't need a reply. Just the intention itself becomes a balm. So here's a gentle challenge for you. Something to try today. Speak one true, kind, unnecessary but beautiful thing to someone. To a friend, to a stranger, to yourself. Not to get anything back, just to give, because every soft word is like water over stone. You never know what it might soften in someone, or what it might soften in you. Let me ask you, have you ever said something small, and someone came back to you weeks later and said, I really needed that? That's the seed you planted, blooming quietly in their life. And maybe you've been on the other side of that too. Someone's gentle voice echoing in a moment when you felt most alone. Words matter. They're not just communication, they're creation. You might think, I'm just one person. My voice isn't that powerful. But here's the truth. The softer the voice, the deeper it can go. We live in a world full of loudness, opinions, noise. But what we're really craving is presence. And presence doesn't need to shout. Sometimes the most healing thing you can say is, I see you. I hear you. You don't have to be perfect today. And here's something else I've noticed. When you speak kindly to others, something in your body listens too. It's not just the other person who receives that warmth. Your own heart hears it. Your nervous system relaxes. Your cells feel the softness of your voice and respond in kind. That's the real magic of mindful speech. It nourishes the one who hears it and the one who speaks it. Call to action, gentle and inviting. So today, say one kind thing, just one. It could be as simple as, you make this room feel lighter. I'm grateful for you. Your story matters. And then, let it go. Trust that it landed where it needed to. If this reflection speaks to your heart, leave a comment below. What's one beautiful sentence you'd like to gift someone today? Or maybe a sentence you wish someone had said to you. And if you're on this path of softening, healing, and rediscovering your deeper rhythm, subscribe and stay with me. There's more to unfold. Remember, you don't need a platform to make a difference. You just need a voice, spoken with love. And every word you choose is a seed. What will you plant today? Aging is not the end, it's the unfolding. Soft, uplifting background music begins. Piano or subtle strings. A warm, reflective voice begins speaking. So now we return to where we began. Not with an ending, but with a new way of seeing. These 5 habits. They're not just about living longer or avoiding illness. They're about living truer. Coming home to a version of yourself that isn't rushed or reduced or trying to stay forever young, but one that is wise, rooted, and finally, free. You see, aging doesn't have to be a battle. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to outrun it. You just need to understand it. Because what if growing older isn't a decline, but a soft unfolding? Not fading, but blooming inward. Not the end of your energy, but the beginning of your depth. The truth is, your body isn't asking you to do more. It's asking you to listen more, to breathe, to walk without rushing, to sit without fixing, to eat with presence, to speak with intention, to rest without guilt, and maybe most importantly, to trust that right now, just as you are not behind. You are not broken. You are in the right place to begin again. So here's your gentle invitation. You don't have to change your whole life. Just choose one habit, one sacred pause in your day. Start not with pressure, but with presence, and see what begins to shift. Because this isn't about doing something new. It's about remembering something ancient, a rhythm that's always been inside you, a rhythm that says, you were never meant to shrink with age. You were meant to expand, softly, deeply, fully. Call to action, calm and encouraging. If this journey touched you, I'd love to hear which habit spoke to your heart the most. Share it in the comments below. Your words might inspire someone else to begin, and if you'd like more, practices to help you slow down, soften, and come back to yourself. Subscribe and walk with me. Remember, the next chapter of your life doesn't begin with effort. It begins with awareness. So take a breath and let it begin.